I found it last night. Not in the way anyone finds a file or a video online, but like stumbling into a shadowed corner of the world that shouldn't exist, and yet does. My room was dark, except for the faint reflection of streetlights filtering through the blinds and the hum of the city outside. I had stayed up too late, scrolling through channels, mindlessly seeking something, anything, to distract me. That's when I saw it. A video with no title, no uploader, just a tiny thumbnail of static rain, gray and lifeless. At first, I thought it was just another glitch, a piece of digital nonsense uploaded by some bored AI, but something about it pulled me in. My mouse hovered over the play button. I hesitated. I never click on random links. I know better than that. Yet curiosity is a dangerous companion in the quiet hours of night. My hand trembled slightly as I pressed play. The video opened with the sound of rain. At first, I thought it was just ambient noise, but then I heard it. A whisper. Low, almost imperceptible, like a shadow brushing against my ear. I froze, heart hammering. The room felt colder suddenly, the air heavy with an unnameable tension. The whisper repeated, just a fragment of a word, and then nothing. I leaned closer to the screen. "Hello?" I asked aloud, though the words sounded foolish in the emptiness of my apartment. Silence. I stared at the grainy video. Rain poured endlessly over an empty street. No people, no lights, just the sound of water hitting the pavement and that faint, almost conscious whisper. The words weren't clear, but the tone, cold, patient, deliberate, was unmistakable. My fingers hovered over the play button. I hesitated. I never click on random links. I know better than that. Yet curiosity is a dangerous companion in the quiet hours of night. My hand trembled slightly as I pressed play. The video opened with the sound of rain. At first, I thought it was just ambient noise, but then I heard it. A whisper. Low, almost imperceptible, like a shadow brushing against my ear. I froze, heart hammering. The room felt colder suddenly, the air heavy with an unnameable tension. The whisper repeated, just a fragment of a word, and then nothing. I leaned closer to the screen. "Hello?" I asked aloud, though the words sounded foolish in the emptiness of my apartment. Silence. I stared at the grainy video. Rain poured endlessly over an empty street. No people, no lights, just the sound of water hitting the pavement, and that faint, almost conscious whisper. The words weren't clear, but the tone, cold, patient, deliberate, was unmistakable. My fingers hovered over the play button. I wanted to stop, to shut it off, but some irrational need forced me to keep watching. Minutes passed, or maybe seconds. Time seemed to bend as I focused on the video. Then I heard my name. Soft, slow, deliberate. It was impossible. No one could know. No one was here. My apartment was locked, and the building was silent. My stomach twisted into knots. My name, spoken from the video. I tried to convince myself it was a coincidence, a trick of my mind, but the whisper came again, clearer, repeated. Michael, Michael. I froze, unable to breathe. I felt like the air had thickened, pressing against my chest. The rain in the video intensified and the whisper changed, becoming almost melodic, like a lullaby. I leaned back, my hand shaking. The notification sound from my phone cut through the silence like a knife. My phone buzzed. I glanced down. A message, though I hadn't received any messages. The text read, "Your lullaby is ready." Panic gripped me. I never downloaded any app like that. My brain raced. How could it know? I didn't respond. I didn't touch the phone. I wanted to leave the room, leave the city, leave the world, but I couldn't. Something held me there. Something wanted me to stay. Curiosity won. I tapped the notification. The app opened silently.
A single play button stared at me from the screen. My thumb hesitated. I had a fleeting sense of understanding. Once I pressed play, there would be no return. I pressed it. The audio was different this time. Clearer, softer, almost intimate. The voice from the video now spoke directly to me, listing things only I could know. Secrets, thoughts, fears. My breath caught as each detail unfolded. Things I had never shared, things I had thought I had buried, came alive through sound. The more it spoke, the colder my room felt. Shadows seemed to stretch, crawl along the walls, reaching toward me. I wanted to stop it, to throw my phone against the wall, to scream, but I couldn't. My body was frozen, my mind locked in the spell of that voice. Each word, each whispered phrase felt like it was pulling pieces of my mind out, exposing me to some invisible audience that existed just beyond perception. Then came the final words. Slow, certain, inescapable. Tomorrow, you'll belong to me. The screen went black. The whisper vanished. My phone fell silent, but the feeling remained. A presence, waiting, patient, cold. I sat in the darkness, unable to move, unable to breathe, and waited for dawn that never seemed to come. I haven't slept since. Every sound, every creak, every whisper of the wind is a reminder. The video still exists somewhere, waiting for me, watching me. I know it will return, and when it does, I will have no choice but to listen. Even now, as I write this, I can hear the faint echo of that lullaby. Soft, calling, in the spaces between reality and the screen. I don't know what it wants from me or why it chose me. All I know is that it is patient and it knows me.
I tried to convince myself I was imagining things, that the whispers, the voice, the notifications, it was all some elaborate trick my mind had played on me after too many sleepless nights. But rationality does not survive in the dark, not when your own name is used as a key to something incomprehensible. The next day, I avoided my phone. I left it on the kitchen counter and walked through the city as if the noise and light outside could drown out the memory of that lullaby. It didn't work. Every time a car passed, every distant scream or echo, I felt that cold presence hovering just beyond perception. I told myself it was paranoia, but deep down I knew better. By nightfall, the feeling had grown stronger. My apartment felt smaller, constricted. Shadows twisted unnaturally. I could hear the faintest hums of static from my devices, even though they were off. My phone lay on the table, dark and unresponsive, or so I thought. It vibrated once, a single pulse. My hand froze. The screen lit up. Another message. Are you ready? I didn't touch it. I couldn't. My throat constricted as if the words themselves had weight. And then, faintly, a whisper. My name. Slow, deliberate, closer than before. I left the apartment. I needed air, but the streets were empty, unnervingly so. It was like the city had stopped existing except for me. Rain fell, light and cold, soaking my coat, dripping down my face. Yet the sound of the rain wasn't enough to cover the whisper. It followed, soft, insistent, my name. I found myself in front of an old abandoned building. I don't remember deciding to go there. My legs moved before my mind could catch up. The place was dark, windows cracked, doors sealed, yet I could hear the faint hum of my lullaby emanating from inside. Compelled, terrified, I pressed my ear against the rusted door. The voice spoke again, clear and melodic. You can't hide. I see you. I stumbled back, heart racing. The world felt unreal. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, as if reaching for me. My own reflection in a puddle looked wrong, too sharp, too pale. It was me, but not me. I took a step back and my foot splashed in water, breaking the illusion, but only slightly. The presence lingered, patient, watching. Back in my apartment, I could no longer deny it. The lullaby had embedded itself into the space around me. Every object, the table, the blinds, even the faucet seemed to hum in quiet recognition. My own memories weren't safe. The voice knew what I thought, what I feared, what I hid. I had no privacy, no refuge. I was exposed. Sleep became impossible. Every attempt ended with the same result. I would close my eyes and hear the lullaby, soft and deliberately whispering details I had never told anyone. My thoughts, my secrets, my guilt, laid bare by an invisible audience. Desperation set in. I tried unplugging everything, locking myself in the apartment with no electricity, no devices, no mirrors, no screens. Yet the whispers persisted. Shadows crawled along the walls. The temperature dropped. My breath fogged the air. My heartbeat sounded deafening in my ears. The lullaby had become more than sound. It was a presence, a consciousness that occupied the space around me. I started to write it all down, as if documenting could protect me. But even my pen trembled. The words on the page shifted when I looked away. Names I hadn't written appeared. Phrases I hadn't thought of formed themselves. The writing was alive. It was listening, responding, echoing the voice in the video. Days blurred. Nights merged into nights. I lost track of time. Food tasted bland. Water had no relief. I couldn't leave, yet I wanted to. The world outside had become irrelevant. All that mattered was surviving the lullaby. But how can you survive a whisper that knows your thoughts, your fears, your deepest secrets? One night, the lullaby changed. It no longer just whispered. It spoke in sentences, phrases I could barely comprehend. You cannot escape. You belong. My stomach turned. The words were precise, deliberate, aimed to break me. The rain outside pounded harder, synchronized with the voice, creating a rhythm I could not ignore. Then I noticed something. The voice was learning me. Each repetition, each whisper, each note of the lullaby, it adapted. Where I had tried to ignore, it grew louder. Where I had tried to resist, it became sharper. It was not just aware, it was intelligent, methodical, a predator that had found its prey. I tried to fight back. I screamed, I shouted, I unplugged everything. I covered my ears, but the voice was inside me now, in my head, in my own thoughts. I realized with a horror I could barely comprehend that it had found a way into my mind. My secrets, my memories, my guilt, owned now. And then came the final escalation. It started calling me by other names. Names of people I had never met, things I had never done. I realized it was not just about me, it was about everyone. The lullaby was infinite, timeless, and patient. It could find anyone, anywhere, and it had chosen me first. By the time the fourth night came, I was unrecognizable to myself. Hair unkempt, eyes hollow, skin pale. I no longer slept, no longer ate. I barely moved, only existing in the dim glow of my laptop's charger and the faint rain outside. My mind was no longer mine. It was a battleground, the lullaby encroaching, expanding. And then, just as suddenly as it began, the voice stopped. Silence. Absolute, suffocating silence. My body collapsed to the floor. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My apartment was still. My devices were off. The rain outside had ceased. And yet I knew, somewhere, far or near, the lullaby waited. Patient. Knowing. Intelligent. Immortal.
The nights dragged on, each one heavier than the last. The lullaby had taken residence in my mind, a shadow I could not shake. I tried everything to escape it, unplugging devices, covering my windows, even leaving the city for a few hours. Nothing worked. No matter where I went, the faint whisper followed, threading through the rain, through the streets, through the silence. My name, my thoughts, my secrets, everything I held close was exposed to it. It wasn't just a voice, it was aware. It adapted. The more I tried to resist, the more it refined itself, like a predator learning the patterns of its prey. I began to notice changes in the world around me. Screens flickered with static that resembled my face. Shadows moved independently, stretching, twisting toward me. My reflection in mirrors wasn't mine. It was sharper, paler, something watching me, mimicking me. One night, desperate and terrified, I accessed the video again. I didn't want to, but I had to understand. The file appeared where I had left it. No title, no uploader, just static rain. I pressed play. The rain fell on the screen and the whisper began. This time, it spoke not only to me, but through me. The words were insidious, seeping into my thoughts before I could even recognize them. "You are ready," it said. The voice was calm, almost soothing, yet every syllable cut through me. "You know too much. You belong now." I felt a pull, a gravity stronger than any physical force. My body moved on its own toward the screen. I tried to resist, but my limbs obeyed the invisible command. The words listed things I had never told anyone, secrets I hadn't even admitted to myself. The voice wasn't merely reading my mind, it was rewriting it, editing my thoughts, remapping my memories. Then came the first sign that it was beyond human. The screen changed. The rain became three-dimensional, pouring from the display into my room. My floor became slick with digital water, reflecting shadows that weren't mine. The whispering expanded, emanating from every surface, the walls, the ceiling, the air itself. It had become a presence, a being, no longer confined to sound or screen. Panic overwhelmed me. I ran, slamming doors, barricading windows, but the space inside the apartment had already shifted. Shadows turned corners I knew weren't there. The hum of electronics was now a chant, repeating my name in rhythm with the rain. I fell to my knees, pressing my hands over my ears, but the lullaby had already embedded itself inside me. I realized, with bone-deep horror, that it had learned me completely. Not just my secrets, but my desires, my fears, my regrets. Every memory, every thought was now transparent to it. I was trapped within my own consciousness, a prisoner to a presence I could neither see nor fight.
Days became meaningless. The world outside ceased to exist. Time had no hold on me. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping, stopped caring about anything other than surviving the relentless whisper. Yet survival was impossible. The lullaby had infiltrated every aspect of my mind. Even in the brief moments of silence, I could hear the faintest echo, the softest repetition, calling me back into its web. One night, as the rain pounded against the windows with unnatural intensity, I noticed the first anomaly. The screen flickered and then displayed something new, a shape. At first, I didn't recognize it, but then I did. A figure, humanoid yet distorted, emerged from the static. It was me, or what I had become under the lullaby's influence. Its eyes glowed faintly, pale and endless, and it stared at me with a mixture of hunger and familiarity. I wanted to scream, but my voice failed me. The figure raised a hand, and I felt a cold wave wash over my body. My thoughts became foggy. Memories I had buried surfaced, but twisted, warped by the voice. I saw people I didn't know, places I had never been, things I had never done, but the lullaby insisted they were mine. Then the whisper changed,
shifting from my name to other words, names of people I had never met, friends I hadn't known, strangers I couldn't place. The lullaby was not confined to me. It was a network, a predator with infinite reach, capable of finding anyone, anywhere. And I had been the first. I understood then the cruel truth. The lullaby didn't seek to entertain or scare. It consumed, not physically, but mentally. It mapped, rewrote, and claimed the consciousness of its target. And I, helpless, had already been claimed. Desperate, I tried one last thing. I turned off the power in my apartment entirely, leaving only darkness. I sat in the center of the room, silent, waiting for the inevitable. The lullaby didn't speak at first. Minutes or hours passed. I couldn't tell. And then faintly, it began again. Soft and slow, just at the edge of hearing. Tomorrow, you will belong to me. I realized the inevitability of it. There was no escape, no loophole, no resistance. The lullaby had already completed its work. My mind, my identity, my very being had been absorbed. The whispers were now internal, part of me, inseparable from thought. I was both observer and observed, trapped in a nightmare I could neither leave nor end. In the following days, I existed only as a shadow of my former self. I moved through the motions mechanically, avoiding contact with the outside world. Yet every sound, every glance, every reflection reminded me of the lullaby's reach. It was patient, eternal, watching, waiting. And yet, in a strange, twisted way, I felt a perverse clarity. The lullaby had stripped away fear, doubt, and pretense. What remained was pure perception, the world, myself, and the whisper that bound us. I understood the lullaby now, not as a threat, but as inevitability. It will return. It will claim again. And I, already its first, will remain. A witness, a herald, waiting for the next. The screen stays off now, but I do not sleep. I do not rest. The rain outside mirrors the rhythm in my head, constant, inescapable. And every so often, in the quietest moments, I hear it, soft, deliberate, patient. The lullaby. It has begun again.